Hi guys, so today I wanted to just do like a little coffee chat. So when I was filming the ending for my San Francisco walking tour video, which if you haven't seen that, it's linked up above in the iCards. But when I was filming the ending for it, I went off on this tangent about what it's really like to live in the Bay Area, really the pros and cons of living here. I do get that question a lot that's like, why don't you move somewhere cheaper if you're trying to be like an online kind of, not quite a digital nomad, but like, you know, I'm trying to like work online, work for myself, work from home. And people are like, why are you doing it in the Bay? Like that's the most expensive city ever. And it's because the pros have outweighed the cons for a long time. I'll let you know my current thoughts at the very end of this video. So let's start with the pros. So first of all, there are a lot of job opportunities here, especially in the tech industry. And not just like go into work and like do a 9-to-5 office gig. There's like all kinds of job opportunities here. And the reason why there are still so many jobs available and why they're not all taken is because of the cost of living, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. Also on the pros side is the cultural diversity around here. And I know that sounds like I'm some like hippie like anthropology teacher, but like for real, when it comes to my daily life, I get to interact with people of all backgrounds, like all different kinds of people. I'm currently living in Hayward in an extremely Mexican neighborhood, which is great. I mean, to be honest, like I don't really care what like culture I kind of end up in the Bay. There's little pockets of culture everywhere, but I just like that different, I don't know, I've always loved learning about other cultures and trying to understand them more. Like I've lived in Ireland and I've lived in China and I loved both those experiences, and I took all these anthropology classes and I've just really always loved it. And so the opportunity to interact with lots of people from lots of different places is really cool. We are a true melting pot here. And also that means that you can get every kind of food or drink or like anything, you know, like from another culture that you can possibly think of. Another thing I love about the Bay is all the natural scenery around here. So we don't live in like the most, Abe, I purposely opened up the other door for you over there. He'll figure it out. So I remember when I was graduating college and I was like, where in the world am I gonna live? I knew that I really wanted to live somewhere that had access to the beach and to forest land. I really love old trees, especially like evergreen trees, redwoods and pine and spruce and cedar and all that stuff. And I love hiking and I really like going to the beach. So the Bay has all of that, which is really cool. Like we can drive about 30 minutes west. I mean, depending on traffic. We'll get to that in a second too. And we can go to Half Moon Bay, which is a beautiful beach area, or we can drive 20 minutes and we can go into a redwood forest. I have a video about that too. I'll link that up above and down below as well. It's the Redwood Regional Park. And then we've got the North Bay, which is full of like wine country. So it's like these rolling green hills, lots of vineyards. There's rivers around here, lakes. There's the Bay, of course. And then there's more like dry climate as well. And if you drive out a few hours east, you can even end up in Yosemite. So we've got like a lot of really cool natural scenery around us. So also on the pro side is that this is a really like modern tech forward area of the US. So we are actually in the Bay ahead of the game when it comes to a lot of things. We definitely have like a lot more people adopting electric cars, a lot more people with like the latest technology. Like you're more likely to see like the Google Maps car drive by or someone with Google Glass, take a casual trip to the Facebook campus. You know, like there's just a lot of access to super modern tech and things that the rest of the country know about, but they don't see on a daily basis. And in the Bay, we see it, feeling like you're part of the future in some way, you know? And lastly is just simply access to everything, like all the goods and services you could possibly imagine. If you want to find a Vietnamese grocery store, you probably can. If you want this very particular camera and you want to go see it in person, you can probably find somewhere in the Bay that has it. If you want something delivered to your house, I mean, you can get all kinds of things delivered to your house now. I've heard of alcohol delivery. We get food delivery regularly. They even deliver like weed around here. But like literally you can get access to any types of goods or services that you want in the Bay Area. So now we're gonna move on to the cons side, which to be quite honest with you has been outweighing the pros a little bit lately. We'll get to that in a second. But the first big con of the Bay Area is, and you probably saw this coming a mile away, cost of living. It is ridiculous to live here. The housing is crazy expensive. So let's say you and a roommate or you and a partner or spouse or whoever you're rooming with and you guys are trying to find an apartment. You just moved to the Bay Area. If you are paying under $3,000 a month, you're getting a pretty good deal. Like, and it doesn't matter how small that place is. It's insane. And you might be wondering, like, I've been in San Francisco, I've definitely seen people walking around who do not look like they make that much money, but like they're probably renting, so what's the deal? So there's rent control laws in San Francisco, and so for instance, when we were living in Park Merced, we were paying like $2,000 a month for our 700 square foot apartment. There was mold growing out of the walls, but you know, it's a trade-off. So anyways, we shared a courtyard with a bunch of like older couples, and they had like multi-bedroom townhomes in that same complex. And I remember becoming friends with this one older couple who lived there, and they had said they had lived there for like, I think it was like 25 years or something crazy. And they told us that they had like a 2 or maybe it was 3-bedroom apartment, and they were paying like just over $1,000. I think it was like $1,200 a month. We were paying $2,000 a month. That was back in like 2013 when we started paying that price. Flash forward to about 2016 and the price had gone up to $3,000. $2,000 to $3,000 in 3 years. That's a huge increase. So you can see how like when you start renting in the Bay Area, if you stay in that one spot, it can save you a lot of money in the long run. And then you're kind of in this weird situation where you're stuck. Like you can't move anywhere else because nothing else is the same price, not even close to the same price of what you currently have. And then there's this looming fear that your landlord is going to sell the building, or that they're gonna like knock it down and build a high rise, which is exactly what they're doing to that building that we were living in Park Merced. I don't even know what the couple's gonna do. Like they've been in that place for 25 years, paying $1,200 a month, and they only have a few more years left before Park Merced is actually gonna knock down that townhome and build a high rise in its place. They lose out on that rent control law when that's the case, and so now they're stuck in this world of like finding a new place to live with these new prices. So it's really stressful to rent in San Francisco specifically, and really all over the Bay Area. The biggest money sucker for us was moving away and moving back. That was a huge expensive transition process. We're still paying it off, to be honest. So when it finally comes time to buy a home in the Bay, like we, for example, are in our late 20s, early 30s. We have a bunch of married friends, and like everyone talks about buying a home, but it's just this weird like mythical beast that is completely unattainable in the Bay Area. I have no hope of owning a home here. No hope. I just looked at prices that houses were sold for in San Francisco recently on Zillow, and we're not gonna buy a house in San Francisco like ever. That is never gonna happen. But just as an example, I saw there was like a 500 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bath, like not very nice looking apartment that sold for, I think it was like $700,000 or something like that. Like, yeah, pretty crazy. Basically, buying a home is like this, feels like this hopeless path to go on. Kind of sad. So other than housing, everything else here is expensive too. Transportation is expensive. So when I went from Hayward to San Francisco to film that walking tour video, I spent about $15 round trip on public transportation that day. For public transportation, that's pretty expensive. Food is crazy expensive around here. Not so much groceries. Groceries are pretty normal prices, but just like, you know, prepared foods are really expensive. Restaurants are really expensive. $5 bobas, you know, $8 beers, that's not uncommon. Services are more expensive, like doggy daycare, any kind of dog grooming. Basically, the services we mostly look at are like dog services, and they are all like crazy prices around here. And the potential fines. I've actually heard of people who live in San Francisco who budget for parking tickets. It's just really common to end up with some kind of stupid fine. I've seen people get warnings and fines for not turning their wheels on a hill. There's the carpool lane violations, taking your dog off leash when you're not supposed to. And of course, fines are a potential like threat anywhere, but around here they're crazy expensive. Like a carpool violation I think is minimum $490. I heard from a dog walker, so this is just word of mouth, I don't know how true this is, but he told me that he got a $500 fine at the park right next to our house for having his dog off leash. So yeah, there's just the looming threat of all that stuff. It's like one little grain of sand can interrupt the entire system and cause you to move out of the Bay. That's kind of how I feel living here. It's just like this looming threat over your head all the time, like who knows how much longer this will last. So it's a little bit stressful for sure. Also on the con side for me, although this is not a surprise and definitely not as big of a deterrent as cost of living, would be how densely populated this place is. So to me, the Bay Area at this point feels like one giant city. There's the Bay in the middle, there's like the peninsula where San Francisco is, and literally wrapping around the entire Bay is just, it feels like one giant freaking city. The traffic is truly awful. It takes forever to get anywhere. You're always standing waiting in lines. Like, you just have to be more patient and plan for things to take more time than normal because there are so many people trying to do the same thing as you. Another con that I have actually noticed lately, which is, it's a con because it makes you feel like sad and like your whole life is up in the air sometimes, is the fact that everyone around here is talking about moving somewhere else. And a lot of people do move somewhere else. I definitely made a lot of friends, especially at the radio station I used to work at, that have since moved out to, say, Portland, Seattle, LA, just somewhere else because this place is too crazy to live. And lately I've been hearing a lot of people talking about moving to like the country, like Idaho, Montana, moving somewhere else because the lifestyle here is so fast paced that people just crave like something more simple. I've noticed it especially among people who are not originally from the Bay. So also on the con side, this was the biggest issue that I had when I first moved to San Francisco. I had a lot of trouble understanding like why this is a thing. A lot of people around here definitely have a sense of entitlement, and I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people who have a great deal of money or a lot of access, or it's a result of just the dense population and them needing to see themselves as being like special and different from the crowd. But it comes into play a lot when people talk about like progressive politics, which you might think the Bay Area is like super progressive, like so liberal. It's really not. I think like if you're not the Bay Area type of progressive, then you kind of get shut out. I mean, look at what's been happening in like Berkeley, for example. The free speech movement is dead. If you're not gonna let the conservatives speak, then that's not free speech. That's just liberal speech. My point is that there's this like attitude in the Bay that a lot of people end up taking on as a result of what it's like to live here, that is essentially this sense that they are better than other people or that they deserve quicker access to something. Like people will you know, like complain in line until someone lets them up in front, or they'll cut you off while you're driving. That's very common. Or just like generally just the attitude that people have when you talk to them, you know, like there's definitely just this like overall sense of entitlement. I actually feel it more when I'm out of the Bay Area reflecting on what it's like to live in the Bay. That's really when I feel it the most. So lastly on my list is the fact that the Bay Area is definitely going through gentrification. If you don't know what gentrification is, it basically means like the remodeling of an area over time to attract more affluent people, so people with more money. Just everything in the Bay, I can just really easily imagine it being an area that is only for the wealthy, which is sad to me because then it's not what the Bay is to me anymore. The Bay is like a land of opportunity. You know, there's so many opportunities here. It's a cultural melting pot. It's a landing point for a lot of people emigrating into the US. And the idea of this just being an area that's kind of exclusive for the wealthy makes me sad. So that's on my con list as well. I just want to end with like kind of my general feeling on the Bay and like what I've been thinking lately. So I do like living in the Bay. We have some really good friends here, and like, I don't know, we're just kind of all on the same page. Like we've got this huge group of like married couple friends that like someday want a family but not yet, and so like we can still do all these fun like things that you can do as an adult without a kid around, you know. And the access to everything is really nice, and I do have a lot of job opportunities here, which is awesome, and I get to interact with people from all different cultures, which I love. But the cost of living is really starting to get to me because I don't want to work all the time in order to just get by. I want to work as much as I need to in order to live a happy lifestyle. I've just been feeling like this area is too fast paced for me. I've been craving like smaller place, a little bit type of lifestyle that's like closer to the land. Like I'm super interested in having a garden and, you know, getting another dog and maybe learning how to can my own food, go camping more often, go hiking more often. Like I want to be out in nature more often and in an environment where other people feel the same and aren't striving to be like, I don't know, like the ultimate master of their career. Like the attitude around here is very career driven, and I just kind of am craving somewhere that's more like family driven and like happiness driven rather than like money and career. We're not making any sudden moves. I'm not planning to move anytime in the next like few months or anything like that, but that's just my general feeling right now. I'm gonna kind of sit with this and feel it out and see where I go from here, and kind of like, you know, I'm not stuck here is what I'm trying to say. I have ideas for the future, and in my head, I don't see us settling in the Bay Area, but who knows? I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, I hope that made sense. If you have any questions about the Bay Area, what it's like to live here, or if you have a request for somewhere in the Bay you want me to go to and explore, definitely comment below, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.